You're not on Zoom. You have to log on to Zoom. Log off. You have to log back on and start the whole thing over again, bro. I'm trying to stop you, but it sounded really good. Yep. Just go back to the same link.
All right. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Longtime listeners of this underground broadcast will know Eric Nyenhuis as an actor and professional wrestler, was a member of Ken Shamrock's infamous and feared Lions Den stable. Eric seems to attract controversy wherever he goes, and why would 2021 be any different? He's back with a new promotion, which is already grabbing headlines for a range of reasons, some of which will be discussed in this program. We're going to get into all that, but first, Eric, how are you doing today, man?
Dude, how are you doing? You got COVID, huh?
Yeah, man. It's crazy, but thankfully I'm basically symptomless. I'm okay. I just have some diarrhea, so we'll knock on wood, man.
Did you lose your taste for anything yet?
No, not at all. And you know what's funny, Eric? Today, I got the tests back last night. Today, the state already called me. The state of New Jersey called me today. We're asking all sorts of questions, so go figure.
Asking if you were African or anything? Been to Africa?
No, they excluded my friggin' race, man. It's like, yeah, I don't know if they're asking me this, that, and the other thing. It's just fucking crazy, man. It's like now they're going to be spying on me even more now.
Well, you know, the second strain is from Africa, supposedly, and the people that have it here have never even been to Africa or been in touch with anybody from Africa.
Really?
Yeah, this thing is getting more confusing by the day. Much like who owns what with pancreas, huh?
Yes. Well, we've got 25 million people in the United States that have tested positive, and I'm so glad to have you on the show because this is something I wanted to do for quite some time now. You know, you're someone who's appeared on the show multiple times, and we've known each other for over 10 years now.
Oh,
I have to say, you're certainly
20 years almost. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing how time flies. You're certainly one of the most lively and interesting combat sports personalities, and you always got something intriguing going on. But some of our newer listeners may not know much about you, so let's bring them up to speed briefly on your background. As I mentioned earlier, you've made a name primarily as a professional wrestler, actor. You've done some producing work. You have a legit background in combat sports and so on and so forth. Do you ever see yourself as a pioneer in that sense, one of the first actors and wrestlers who could not only legitimately fight, but were highly trained as an MMA athlete?
Well, again, it's so funny because people don't know who I am, and that's fine. You know, I mean, was I around for a very long time? Have I seen it all? Yeah, but just to jump ahead, that was one of my motivations for doing the Pancrase Hybrid documentary, because who even is remembering who Karl Gotch is? You know, who remembers who Masa Funaki or Fujiwara or Suzuki? I mean, Suzuki's still active with New Japan, thank God. You know, and when I watch Josh Barnett's, you know, Bloodsport, I mean, you got 1,000 people chanting King of Pancrase. You know, if it wasn't for the underground, I mean, how many people would actually remember what Pancrase really is? Half the people I've talked to, and it's funny, I went on a thread with this belt, and they said, "Oh, you're wearing you've got a replica belt with a dead promotion," not even realizing that, you know, Sakai and those guys in Japan are still running Pancrase, but they're running mixed martial arts. So my background, I started doing shoot wrestling with Chris Candido in New Jersey, and I moved on to, you know, freestyle wrestling and college level wrestling. Blew my whole knee out. You know, a couple years later, UFC came around. I tracked down Hoist Gracie and Bob Shamrock. And I went on this whole long circuit with Hoist Gracie. I mean, you can see the pictures on my Facebook. You know, I trained in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu under Hoist Gracie when he was just doing seminars. You know, I would follow him along this whole seminar circuit until I got, you know, good enough to start teaching. And in '99, I literally left everything behind to go to San Diego for the opening of San Diego Lions Den. You know, and you've heard from guys like Steve Bruno, who runs American Top Team in Florida. They were there. Ed 9mm, who was there. You know, Dave Holtz, who I fought under the Lions Den flag. You know, Manny, who's down at San Diego Combat Academy. You know, the only person that said that I cleaned the bathrooms, it wasn't part of the lines then, was somebody that wasn't even there.
Yeah, I know who that is. Yeah.
I know. We both know who
Yeah.
that is. But they
Yeah.
had never stepped foot in the lines then, never, not once. But all of a sudden they know my whole history. You know, they weren't there. They weren't there when the sheriff's department were trying to lock the doors and stay in there all night so we couldn't get locked out of the gym. You know, they weren't there selling tickets to the smokers. They weren't there getting between the ropes. You know, I fought. At least I can say I did it. You can ask Kevin Wu, Steve Bruno, all these other people said, "Oh, supposedly he's part of the Lions Den." Yeah, that's right. I was part of the Lions Den. You know. And
Yeah, I mean, it really fascinating times. Even before me, I mean, I got involved with the sport in 2000, 2001. So
right.
this all predates me. How did you get hooked up with Ken?
I actually tracked down Bob Shamrock, who I think about every day. And I was so fascinated by what Ken was doing coming into the UFC. I mean, at that time, Ken Shamrock looked like a superhero. You know,
Right.
I mean, you look at all those other guys. I mean, who looked more like a superhero than Ken Shamrock? And understanding why he was wearing trunks and why he looked like a pro wrestler, and why he was doing all these things. Because I took Kodokan Judo back in the '70s. I took Judo and Taekwondo like everybody else did. And I just saw these insane submissions, and
Yeah.
we were all WWE'd to death at that point, you know, watching Dynamite Kid and all these other guys that all looked like Ken, but they couldn't do what Ken did, you know. And I'm one of the guys that wanted to understand completely what he was doing. And I got hold of Bob Shamrock, and Bob Shamrock and I must have talked for 2 years. And he invited me up to Lodi to Sacramento, and now understand I was about 130 pounds.
Right.
He wanted me to come try out for the fight team, and I was like, "There's no way I'm going to get my head kicked in. I'll just wait." And he had told me that, and I had never spoken to Ken at that point. And they opened up the lines. Then I was there, like literally within the first couple weeks of them opening. I helped do whatever all the young boys did. All the young boys cleaned the bathrooms. All the young boys cleaned the mats. All the young boys cleaned the gym.
Yeah.
And I met with Bob, like I gravitated straight to him, and one of his first questions is, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "I really want to fight Pancrase." You know, and he said, "Well, let's see what we got to do." Not realizing that the bridge had already been burned with Pancrase, and Ken had pulled everybody out of there.
You know, at the time, Ken was undoubtedly one of the best coaches and fighters for submission fighting outside of Japan or Brazil.
Well, I got to tell you, Lions Den wasn't about getting taught. You want to talk about teachers? Mikey Burnett, Pete Williams, Vernon Tiger White, Jerry Bolander. Those guys were teachers, okay? Ken Shamrock was the guy that kept choking you until you figured out how to get out of it. He wouldn't teach how to get out of a choke. He would choke you until you got out of it, you know? And Mikey Burnett will tell you, all those guys on the fight team have no ACLs left. Ken tore everybody's knees up.
I know.
Yes.
We heard about the Lions Den tryouts and how badly trainees were beaten, infamous and legendary. Probably not something that would happen in 2021 without friggin' lawsuits.
Well, I know we had talked about this maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. There's tapes of Frank Shamrock's tryout where he's getting his hair pulled out by Ken and he's vomiting on himself. You know, because Frank had really long hair, like almost down to his ass back then. You know, and Ken wanted him to do the tryout, and Frank wanted to do the tryout. And there's videos of Ken pulling out chunks of hair out of Frank's head. You know, if you got caught in a choke, you're getting choked to death. You can only get choked so many times before you figure out how to get out of it. But Ken was never the one to teach you how to get out of it. I learned very little from Ken Shamrock. But everybody that Ken put in front of me, like Vernon taught me how to do a rolling leg lock. Mikey Burnett taught me how to do stand-up. Joe Hurley probably taught me more submissions than Ken Shamrock ever did.
Yeah. That was going to be my next question. How often would you say you've been submitted by Ken in your lifetime?
I've never even rolled with Ken.
Okay.
Oh, you kidding me? But like in pro wrestling, like, because I wanted to do the pro wrestling for some weird reason. I thought it was going to be easier. And Ken hired Ollie Steinwand, who's really like probably one of the best wrestlers. He reminds me a lot of Joe Malenko and that whole strong style of wrestling. But Ken, every once in a while, Ken would jump in the ring with us. And Ken, pound for pound, if he grabs you, he's hurting you.
Right.
You know, so have I taken a bump from Ken Shamrock? Yes. Have I ever rolled with Ken Shamrock in a submission wrestling situation? Hell no. I'd be scared to death. Are you kidding me? Even to this day.
What about? I know at some point you got involved in professional. So I read that it was due to you convincing Bob Shamrock to start a pro wrestling program.
Yeah, here's what happened. I bugged them forever. Literally, it seemed like almost a year. And I said, you know, I really want Ken to teach pro wrestling. I really want to teach Ken to teach pro wrestling. And Bob kept saying he doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want nothing to do with it. You know, he just wanted to. And they finally, and Ken finally says, fine. You want to learn pro wrestling? You get everybody together. We're going to teach one class or one term of it, and that's going to be it. It's X amount of dollars. Whoever signs up, and that's it, and that's it. And I think about 15 of us signed up, and only Tommy Wilson and I actually got all the way through it. And Tommy's a great worker. I'm not a great professional wrestler. You know, I loved it, and I know how to take a bump, but I'm not a great worker, you know. But I wanted to do it. Ken was like, oh, you need to high fly. You need to get on the top rope. And I'm like, no, I don't. No, I don't. I want to stay on the ground. I want to do submissions. I want to do pancreas, you know.
Did Bob Shamrock have a background in wrestling?
Bob Shamrock loved pro wrestling. He loved it. You know, I think that's what pushed Ken into working with Buzz Sawyer and working with all these guys. You know, like he went down to Florida and worked with Jody Malenko and Dean Malenko, and they hooked him up with. And a lot of people don't know this, but Ken started with All Japan. Ken was with All Japan Pro Wrestling before he even went to Pancrase or the Fujiwara Gumi at that time. But it's so funny because I've heard so many stories, and it's in the documentary, that Ken Shamrock would work so stiff with these wrestlers, there's nowhere else he was better fitted than in Japan.
Interesting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes.
Didn't he? Isn't it true he used to wrestle under the name Vince Torelli or something like that?
That's when he came back. Or see, I'm a little confused with the timeline because I don't have it in front of me. He did wrestle under Vince Torelli, and he was with Jones. You know, and it's funny because I talked to Bart Gunn about the times he's got to work with Ken, and all pro wrestlers work from the left. If you ever watch pro wrestling, they all work from the left-hand side. Like they'll grab the left arm, grab the left leg. Everything was from the left. Ken is the only one that would actually work from the left and the right. He worked from both sides of the body. That's how you keep from colliding. That's how you keep from butting heads. That's how you keep from missing a beat. You work from my left, I work from your left. So we're always going from the left, from the left, from the left. That's how watch pro wrestling, watch any pro wrestling. Everything's done from the left-hand side. When they grab somebody and throw them into the ropes, it's from the left-hand side.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've always had it in my mind that your pro wrestling gimmick was based around shoot fighting and submission fighting background. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It was Eric Valley-Tudo. Because I wanted, and I had set Ken up to do a bunch of pro wrestling seminars.
Uh-huh.
And he always says that the great equalizer, no matter how big of a guy you're wrestling or how small he was, or whatever his style is, the submissions evened up the playing field. You know what I mean? Like if you watch him and the Undertaker, and him and Ken had a really good match, Ken versus the Undertaker, and he got him in a standing armbar. Like Undertaker had him up in the choke, and Ken wrapped up his arm and got him an armbar from the stand. You know, you're talking size difference. You're talking 80-pound weight difference. You know, but the equalizer was submissions. So no matter how big you are, if I catch you in a rear naked choke, are you tapping?
Yeah.
And that's the psychology that I brought to pro wrestling. And then we got Ken booked on the first Ring of Honor show or the second Ring of Honor show. And I was just, I met Paul London and Spanky and all these guys that Shawn Michaels trained and American Dragon and Loki, American Dragon, Chris Daniels. And these guys worked the Japanese strong style. The first 3 Ring of Honor shows were the best wrestling I'd ever seen. Because Ken always says, if you're going to get involved in pro wrestling and you're going to learn how to pro wrestle, you're never going to be a fan again. And he was absolutely right. A lot of things that Ken and Frank have taught me over 20 years are still true to this day.
Pro wrestling has the reputation of being one of the few businesses crazier than MMA, at least in part before there was wellness programs and drug testing at major promotions.
Right.
What was it like when you were involved? Were drugs, ring rats, and other things rampant there?
I was working as an independent merchandise guy under Bob Cohen at WWE. And I'm going to tell you, there's a couple guys there named Mark, and I'm not going to get the last names, so I'm not going to bury anybody. But this was a time when OxyContins were rampant, you know.
Uh-huh.
And we'd be at like ECW one night stand show, doing the merchandise booth or doing whatever, and everybody was on drugs. Like I'm not saying the wrestlers, that's a whole nother story. But everybody I got involved in were all doing oxys or coke or crack, or they were just hot messes, And a lot of the old ECW guys that I met through Chris Candido, like just incredible, Balls Mahoney, they were all really bad on drugs. And then you get guys like Danny Doring, who literally has spent his whole life trying to raise his brother after his parents got killed, who would never touch a drop of alcohol or drugs in his life. There's two sides to that coin. I know a guy like Jody Malenko's almost 70 years old. He's still alive, and he's still involved with, Pancrase, and he never touched a drug or did all that party. And all the guys that lived that lifestyle lived to be 35 years old. How Just Incredible is still alive is beyond me.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Let's switch gears here. You got into acting at the urging of some fellow industry pros, right?
yes.
Tell us how that played out.
Well, I started representing, much like Ken Pavia and Shu Hirata. Mikey Burnett had called me up and said, I just finished The Ultimate Fighter, come back, Chris Lytle and all those guys. And I really don't want to go home. I'm getting bugged to death. I want to go somewhere and just chill, decompress. And Mikey came to my house and stayed in my house for a while. And it's funny because I got a call from Scott Farrell on Sirius XM Radio. And we ended up doing the Jackie Martling show, me and Mikey Burnett. He told the story about how he got his neck broken and his epilepsy and all these other things. The next thing I know, we keep getting invited back. And I just kind of said, you know what, let's do Doug Cartelli opened up the Lion's Den in Connecticut. And that's a whole nother story that'll take forever to tell. But we wanted to do an internal podcast just for gym members, like who the new instructor was coming in. Like when we had Vitor Shaolin coming up, we had Vitor Shaolin, and whoever was at the gym could listen to this podcast, and it just grew to the point where I had 4 million listeners. And I'm at San Diego Comic-Con, and the Super Nazi, Larry Thomas, had came up to me and says, hey, this guy's looking for you. He's such a huge fan of your podcast, and he wants to put you in one of his films. And I go, who listens to our podcast? Like, really? And he was from Germany. And we sat and we talked, and he showed me on his phone. Like, you can see, he listened to every episode that we ever had. And he says, I'm doing a film called Alien Armageddon. And I said, sure, why not? Let's give it a go. But what happened at that time when I moved to LA, I changed the direction of the podcast to talk to classic actors like Michael Madsen and C. Thomas Howell, and all these great actors like Jeff Conaway, and just all these different, Ernie and Chip Douglas from My Three Sons. And I wanted to understand what acting was. So all these actors I have on my show, I'm picking their brains. So I'm literally getting a lesson in acting. And John Savage had said to me, get out of radio. He goes, you're this is great for you, but you need to start acting. And I started working on private instruction with Richard Hatch from Battlestar Galactica. We would do like 3 hours a week of acting lessons. I worked with Ernest Thomas from What's Happening. I worked with John Wesley Shipp on how to break down a script. And I learned everything about acting. By the time I got to Alien Armageddon, I was very well schooled. And it's funny because the star of the movie, Don Scribner, who played the cowboy, had said to me maybe a year later, he goes, a year later, he says, I had no idea that was your first film. He says, you hit all your marks, you did everything the director says, and you left it all on the set. It was great. It was really great working with you. And there was a scene where he just snaps my neck and kills me. I said, well, that's kind of anticlimactic. I said, it just didn't make sense for the scene. I talked to the director. I said, can we change it to a rear naked choke where he completely anacondas me out? And if you watch it, you'll see that like he takes like 2 or 3 minutes to like really. And it's funny because I took his elbow, and you could see me pushing his elbow into my throat and turning my face purple to actually get the whole effect of him killing me. And he did on film, and it was great. I think I've been killed on every film I've ever done.
What are some of your favorite projects you've been involved with as an actor, and how can people check them out?
IMDb.
Yeah.
IMDb is the International Movie Database. If it ain't on IMDb, it ain't real. You know, I've done Walking Dead. I've done Star Trek. I've done Alien Armageddon. I did a film with Tom Sizemore called The Getter. What else have I done? I've done so much stuff. It's all Almost Mercy with Tommy DiNucci was probably absolutely my favorite. I got to play a paralyzed alcoholic abusive father, and we shot that thing. We shot my scenes over a 2-day period, and I'll tell you, it took me about almost 3 months to decompress. You know, because the one thing about acting is, I mean, there's acting, like I see you acting. You know, if you go on soap operas, you see them acting. Or if you go on like cheesy Hallmark movies, you see them acting. You literally have to put yourself in a wheelchair, not move your legs, and really have to think about all the evil things that are making this guy be evil to make him become believable.
Wow.
It's kind of like a Stanford Meisner method, or like Lee Strasberg. And if you read the book Respect for Acting, you really have to put yourself in the moment, and you can't just turn it on and turn it off. Like you can't say, okay, wait, I need a minute, let me find it. If it's always right there in front of you, then it's just a matter of just letting that become the emotion that's in the front. The easiest emotion is anger. Anybody can act angry. I can act angry all the time. But dial it back. Do the same exact scene, but slow it down. So I can just go from I'm angry all the time to I'm angry all the time. It's how and again in acting, it's here's your scene, okay? I want to know where my character came from, where's he at now, and where's he going after this? Because your scene is your girlfriend just told you she got pregnant by the neighbor. Okay, I just came the scene and I said, okay, so where am I coming from? Oh, I'm coming from the jewelry store buying my girlfriend an engagement ring, ask her to marry me. Now I'm in the scene, and you got the ring in your pocket. And where am I going after this? I'm going to see a psychiatrist because I'm an emotional wreck.
Right.
So if you don't know those two things, how do you play out the scene that's in front of you? Do you play it angry? Do you play it heartbroken? Do you play it confused? All three are very different emotions. So it's important if you're acting to know where your character came from and where is he going after this scene.
We've covered your background, and I want to talk about some of the things you've got coming up here, as well as some controversy surrounding them. First, I guess the main headline is that you're intending to start American Pancrase promotion. Many listeners will know Pancrase from the glory days of Ken Shamrock, Funaki, Guy Mesger, Frank, and other. But at a certain point, Pancrase shifted from the classical hybrid wrestling promotion into sort of a regional feeder show for bigger organizations. They're still putting on some shows, but the promotion is vastly different from the previous incarnation. I believe they're still active in Japan. Can you explain how it came that you decided to put on a Pancrase event?
Well, first of all, I never said that I'm putting on a Pancrase hybrid wrestling show. My partner, Douglas Cartelli and Cartelli Promotions Incorporated, says he wants to do shows. He's got boxing. He's the boxing promoter that we got to partner up. He's the vice president of Pancrase Hybrid Wrestling, and he wants to do boxing shows. We were talking to two very big names, and Pancrase Hybrid Wrestling with the kick pads and the rope escapes and the yellow and red cards were on the card. Was this a standalone Pancrase Hybrid Wrestling show? Absolutely not. I've got the trademark for merchandise and apparel, and I've got permission from World Pancrase Create to do events, but I'm not doing events. If my partner wants to do events, then I will put Pancrase Hybrid Wrestling, kick pads, and all that on the show and shoot them for post-production, because if anybody doesn't know, on the Roku channel, Pancras Hybrid Wrestling, we have our own channel. We also have it on Fire Stick, Amazon, Android, and Apple TV. We're trying to load up content so we can actually launch a lot more. We're going to do Pancras Hybrid Wrestling. We're going to do Pancras Fighting. We're going to do Pancras Kickboxing. And we're even going to do Pancras Kickboxing. Because if you're nostalgic and you remember it, in 1993, Pancras Hybrid Wrestling did all those things. I mean, I can show you matches from Pancras Hybrid Wrestling with Ken Shamrock with boxing gloves on. I'm trying
So
yes.
now it's being reported that you applied for the Pancrase trademark in the U.S., but were refused due to the fact that they currently hold trademarks for an identical name and logo.
Right.
We've heard that that there was some sort of deal to loan you the trademarks, but is that the case, or you did register them? You got give us the status of this.
Okay, first of all, when it says refuse, it's not refused to register the trademark. It's refused to go any further. Like when you go on a journey, okay, you have a point A to point Z, okay? They got to point X and says, wait a minute, there's another trademark called Pancras Hybrid Wrestling. So we need to make sure that this Pancras Hybrid Wrestling knows what your Pancras Hybrid Wrestling is doing, and that you two, and there's no animosity, there's no
Right.
there's no chance of anybody saying, oh, these two are contradicting each other. One's for live events owned by World Pancras Create, and the other one is owned by Blow Falcon Productions, which is my production company. Okay? So until we resolve the issue that there is no animosity, they refused to continue the application process. If you go on the site right now,
Right.
if you can, go look at the status. It doesn't say refused anymore. It says approved.
Now, the Japanese owners of Pancrase accused you of illegally trying to use their trademark and claim that they were initiating legal action. What's your response to that?
First of all, they had 14 years to apply for trademark. You know when they applied for trademarks?
Yeah.
3 weeks ago.
Yep.
You and I both know that for fact, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it from me telling you, or from you doing your homework?
No, I posted this. I researched this as well, which
Okay.
it makes it look good on you that you know after you registered.
Now, I had conversations with them back in July, and Guy Metzger will testify to the fact that we did our due diligence. We pounded them to work with them. Comes to find out that, and they said, you don't have rights to the trademark. You need to do things legal. And I said, I agree. I agree. So I go out and I search, do all my due diligence. I got a lawyer. We did research to come to find out they sold their fight library to UFC, and they don't own any of the trademarks.
Okay.
So what contract would I have to make with them for what?
Right.
Okay. They're allowed to use the trademark that they have because they continue to do business after they got Pancrase in Japan. So if I bought Bob Carson's Corner but didn't trademark it, I can still use your logos and everything because I continued the business. Okay.
Right.
But that's intellectual property. Okay. But until I trademark it and actually pay the taxes and doing commerce, then it's like owning a car without registering it.
Okay.
Okay. Has Japan ever ran a show in the United States?
No.
Have you ever seen a store that sells Pancrase Hybrid Wrestling merchandise at the mall? On
No.
the street corner? Okay. So how much commerce has Pancrase Hybrid Wrestling Smash done in the U.S.?
As far as I can tell, zero.
Zero commerce. Who sells T-shirts every day?
You do.
Who sells tracksuits every day? Who sells Pancrase masks every day? Who pays taxes on all that stuff? So I do commerce. And everybody was saying, you're not allowed to use the trademark. If you read subsection 900 of the United States Patent and Trademark Office, the day that you file your application, they expect you to do commerce. If you do not do commerce and you're just sitting on the trademark, when it comes up for review, if you haven't done anything, it looks like you're just sitting on it and you will be denied.
What's the status of your pancreas promotion in the United States?
We're moving forward with everything.
Okay.
I mean, the plan was to reintroduce pancreas through the documentary.
Right.
I'm waiting on Doug Cartelli to figure out what he's doing between the COVID and having to move to California and all these other things. You know, I'm not trying to make any bad vibes, but Douglas Cartelli and Cartelli Promotions agreed to be a part of Pancrase back in July. I'm waiting for them to get settled. Until then, we're working on the Boss Rutan show, which we had a great meeting today and yesterday about, and we're working on finishing the documentary, which is 4 parts, which has about 100 hours of archive footage from the Fuji Gumi, Carl Gotch, Pancrase, all these things that have to go into the storytelling. So it's 4 1-hours that might get turned into 4 more episodes because I found this really great director in Japan that knows Funaki, knows Suzuki, knows Ozaki, knows Yamada, knows Takumido, all these guys, and he knows Fujiwara very well. He worked on Carl Gotch's documentary back in the day.
How close to it is it to completion?
Well, my part's done. My part's really done. It's in the matter of post production. You know, I'm not trying to rush editing.
Right.
You know, because I want this to be really great. I want people to understand and become educated and really understand what Pancrase is about. It's not about fighting. It's about respect. It's about honor. It's about, you know, because learning more about Carl Gotch, I go on YouTube, and this guy literally created mixed martial arts, and there's a tribute video that's 12 minutes long. Like, that's his whole life wrapped up in 12 minutes. Like, I'm the guy that says, listen, if you're not willing to make a difference, shut the fuck up. You know? So
Are you going to have, your microphone is better now.
Oh, is it? Sorry.
Yeah, no. Are you going to have any problems releasing it, you know, since there's this dispute? Or is it that's basically a moot point? They don't have any right to stop you, or they can't obstruct the release of this?
Let me ask you, who's saying that?
Well, no, it's just a question. I mean, I was wondering, you know, with the
okay.
Yeah.
Do you have Netflix?
Sure.
Okay. How many Trump documentaries are on Netflix right now?
There's quite a few, I believe.
All of them positive towards Trump?
No.
Right. So did Trump stop any of them?
Nope.
Right. We're protected under the First Amendment, and as long as all the parties are still alive, I have every right under the First Amendment and the Constitution of the United States to do this documentary.
What's your message to the fans of Pancrase, Eric?
Stay tuned. Stay tuned. You know, I mean, I'm working on a skeleton crew. You know, I had some problems with a few people that were involved with us that just became unbearable to work with. And I'm not talking about Guy Metzger. I'm talking about a gentleman in Holland who just, you know, doesn't want to be a part of the big project, and that's all I'm about. You know, I'm trying to show, like, and I don't know if you know Sakai and Pancrase MMA Smash, those guys' background. They're used car salesmen. That's what their background is, car sales. If they owned Pancrase Smash, whatever, for the next 100 years, they would still never recognize Carl Gotch. They would still never recognize Fujiwara or Masa Funaki or Minoru Suzuki-san or any of these guys that bled, man. These guys bled and sweat worse than anybody you can ever imagine. Like, imagine the Lions Den tryout times 1,000. That's what these guys went through. And for them not even to be recognized as pioneers or the guys that laid the foundation for Pancrase because some used car salesman says, I don't have a right to do something. You know, I think they're more mad because they weren't smart enough and they got outsmarted by a guy Xing that actually did his homework. How do you
How about
Yes.
How about, have you spoken to Ken about this? If so, what does he say?
Ken believes that there's some animosity between us and Japan. And
Uh-huh.
until it really gets straightened out, he just wants to stay neutral and just see what happens. And that's fine. That's
What
fine.
about the Yakuza? Any concern you might get on their bad side?
Zero. I called Ensign Anaway early on, and I said, listen, I can't just protect myself. I've got to protect the product. I've got to protect everybody. And I showed him all the paperwork. I showed him all the emails from Sakai. I've showed him every piece of everything, okay? And a lot of the things that they told him are contradictory to things that they wrote in emails to us. They said when I applied for the trademark that I flaunted it in their faces. Look what I got. No, if you read the email, I got it to protect it from somebody that doesn't give a shit about who they are. And I offered it to them as an olive branch. Here, I got this. You can have it. And they responded with some fake. They have a lawyer, and I got the letter from this lawyer. And I called the lawyer 3 times at 10 a.m., 9 a.m. on 3 different occasions. There's no answer at this giant law firm that they have. And I had somebody go to where this address was, and their lawyer in this letter is in an empty building, or he's in an empty office with a phone down an empty hallway in an empty building in Tokyo. That's their lawyer. Now, if I was a law firm, and every law firm that I've ever dealt with, even my lawyers here, if they're not there, they have a secretary. If they don't have a secretary, they've got a voicemail. If they don't have a voicemail, there's a partner. There's always somebody in the law firm to answer the phone. This phone just sits and rings off the hook. I've never had any physical conversations with their attorneys ever. They said, we need to have an agreement. Yes, I agree. Let's have an agreement. I could show you 3 months worth of emails, and they even apologized for not getting back to me right away. I'm like, listen, we got to keep moving forward. So, and again, these jerky little girls, Shu Hirata and his girlfriend, say, oh, I doubt they talked to Inoki. Yeah, we did. Because we're working with his daughter, and we're working with Durango over at Inoki Sports Management, and we showed his daughter the emails. She took him to her father. Her father went to Inoki went to Sakai, and Sakai says, "Oh, I'm disrespectful. I'm not doing honest business with them, and I'm a sneak, and I'm all these other things." When Inoki already saw the emails and saw how I spoke with them and saw how I do things, and he went, "Okay." Inoki told his daughter, and his daughter told me, "Fuck them. Keep going forward. You're doing the right thing." So those 2 little girls on Twitter and CJ Sports and Shu Hirata, get your facts straight. Anybody can regurgitate fake news. Prove it. Prove any of it.
Yeah, like I said, you've been involved with some other projects. I want to get your responses. There was quite a few posts on Facebook and elsewhere calling you a scam artist for things you've been involved with, where people felt like you didn't deliver on what was promised.
Yep.
Can you talk a little about how you ended up putting on an event for the cast, the Warriors?
Well, we all know that I did the first Warriors event. Rolling Stone, People Magazine,
Yes.
Time Life, cover of Village Voice. Went off without a hitch. No problems at all. So I kept getting calls from people, you're going to do it again next year, you're going to do it again next year, you're going to do it again next year. And I said, no, it was a one-shot deal. I almost died trying to put that whole thing together myself. I put that thing together, designed for 300 people to show up, and 30,000 people showed up. Now imagine preparing for 330,000 show up. Yep. And that's documented.
That was in Coney Island in 2016, right?
That was the original one, right. So I finally get talked into doing it again. And I get a call from this guy, Russo, right? What was his first name? I don't know, whatever it is. It's in these fake things. And Russo calls me up and he goes, I want to be your partner. I said, oh my God, how bad I need a partner. Like, I can't do all this work myself. He's in Brooklyn. I'm in San Diego. Yeah, man, let's be partners. So I'm putting everything together, and I'm about $16,000 in from getting stuff done between the airline tickets and venues and all these other things. And then the event insurance came up, and the event insurance was $330. And I said, hey man, do me a favor, just send them a check for 330, just keep the receipts for everything. And he goes, what? I said, the event insurance, we need event insurance. It's $330. And he goes, I don't have any money. I go, what do you mean you don't have any money? And he goes, I don't have any money. I said, well, how are you going to be my partner? And he goes, well, I was going to borrow $15,000 from you till after the event. And I'm like, what? I go, no. No, we're not partners, dude. Have a nice day. And then he did some interview saying, oh, fuck Eric this and Eric that and Eric this and Eric that. Gets better. I get a phone call or an email from this woman claiming to be a friend of this woman that was an injured Army vet in Kuwait, I think it was. And she had 6 months to live. And she worked special operations and all these things, and she's dying. She's got 6 months to live, and her only wish is to meet the Warriors. So I got her on the phone, and her name's like Sharon or Shannon or something. And I said to her, absolutely. I said, I'm not going to pay for your airfare. I said, but what I'll do is you can use my discount for the hotel. You will be the first one to come in. I'll give you a Warriors vest, and all the Warriors agreed to give her an autograph and all these other things. And my head of security, Dion, at the time says, I was in the military. This doesn't sound right. Like, let me talk to her. I said, sure, no problem. So he calls me about a day later. He goes, bro, fake valor. She was never in the military. I asked her 1,000,001 questions. And she was never a part of the military. And then I see online that people are asking me, they're like, hey, man, this woman's asking us if you have event insurance. I go, why would she ask if I have event insurance? He goes, honestly, she sounds like she wants to come and take some kind of fake fall at your event. And I called her back and I said, listen, I can't have you as a liability. My head of security says you're not valor, you're not this, you're not that. I said, I'm sorry, I can't have you at my event. And she says, if it takes me the rest of my life, I'm going to destroy you and everything that you want to do and all this other horse shit. And 3 years later, she's still alive. And she's still on my tail. And she's still spreading fake, unprovable stories about me. So let's fast forward. Yeah. The day of the event, of the Warriors 2 event, we went and did Good Day New York. And that was like 7 o'clock in the morning. And by 8:30, I had to go back to the event and help the vendors set up the tables. Are you all right? You look like you're dying.
No, I'm good, man.
Okay. Am I boring you?
No, I have a whole bunch of other questions here, but go ahead.
Okay. So I get to the event, and this Silverado truck pulls up, and the vice president of this bike club says, hey, come here. I said, yeah, what's up? He says, just to let you know, we're taking half your money. I go, excuse me? He goes, you fucking heard me. And he goes, say something else. He goes, I'll get out of this truck right now and stab you to death. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he goes, in about an hour, we're going to have 250 bikers here. He goes, you try anything stupid? He goes, you'll never make it off this beach. And for the rest of the day, I watched all these bikers come in, destroy my rental tents, they extorted $300 from every vendor. They blocked the bands in from leaving, saying, if you don't play, we're taking all your instruments. John Joseph from the Cro-Mags lies and says, oh, Eric had a heart attack. Eric had this. I'm surrounded by 250 bikers by myself in Coney Island. You wouldn't have a panic attack?
Yeah.
They picked up my cash register and walked off with it. I got 3 witnesses that were standing right there. They went through their cars looking for Warriors vests. They took everything.
Yeah, that was going to be my. I mean, you kind of summed it up because there was one person that said there were special tickets events, tickets sold to this with the banquet dinner, screening of the movie, replica vest, sweatshirt, T-shirt.
Yep.
And the tickets were $400, and most people, not one person got their ticket in the movie. This is what was claimed. And when the vendors and actors found out what they could do to help out, the fans got screwed. And then they talked about the bands played, and then bands were never paid. Hotels, all these different things.
Well, first of all, The only band that wasn't got paid was the Cro-Mags. And it's funny because John Joseph from the Cro-Mags, that's made the most noise, has spent his whole life ripping and conning people off. And he was standing right there when the bikers took the cash register. But he won't say anything against the bikers, will he? So now, okay, we had the theater to do a live screening with everybody. The price of the theater to rent was $7,000. You got me? I put down $3,500. The other $3,500 was due the day of the event. Do you know how many people bought tickets? 10. 10. So I had to pay $7,000 for 10 people to watch the Warriors film? Are you out of your mind? Would you pay $7,000 for 10 people to go watch the Warriors film?
Yeah.
So I pulled the plug on it. And everybody called me and says, oh, the 10 people were standing there. I said, come down to the event and get your money back. And they came down and they got their money back. And of course they bitched about it. Nobody paid to want to have the dinner with them, but they were all like, oh, we didn't have the dinner. Because nobody paid for it. They expected me to pay for a bunch of people to have dinner with the Warriors? Again, that was a $15,000 dinner. And if 5 people actually sign up to go to this dinner, I got to cover a $15,000 nut on top of the $60,000 that I just lost because the bikers came in and took all my shit.
Now, has there been any fallout between you and the cast of the Warriors at all?
Do you see him on my friends list?
Yeah.
Have you heard anything from Michael Beck, Thomas Waits, Dorsey Wright, any of those guys saying, and Michael, now I'm going to tell you the truth. Michael Beck says, after all that shit, don't call us, don't ask us to do nothing with us. Stay the fuck away from me. No problem. Thanks for sticking up for me with the bikers, Michael Beck. He didn't do shit. And I went to him, I said, dude, I'm being extorted right now. Not his problem. He told me flat out, it's not my problem. Go deal with it. All Michael Beck cares about is Michael Beck.
That's crazy, though. I wasn't aware of the whole situation with the bikers.
So let me tell you what happened. So yeah. I called up Paul Vario, who's the grandson of Paul Vario from Goodfellas, right?
Uh-huh.
You know the movie Goodfellas?
Of course, yeah.
Paulie Cicero, who was played by can't think of the actor's name now.
Yeah, I forget his name. Yeah.
Okay. Paulie doesn't move fast for anybody. Okay. I called his grandson. You know, Paulie and Pete and all married a girl's named Marie. Yeah, I called Paulie. And Paulie's like, what are you doing down there by yourself? I'm on my way down there. And I'm literally, I can't breathe. I got my hand on my chest. I got one of the bikers hold me by the back of my neck. Right? And all I hear is, don't touch him, or don't, these guys that are coming in, don't touch them. And the sea opened up. Literally a sea of bikers opened up. And it's Paulie and it's Anthony Grotto and a couple other guys from Brooklyn. And Paulie goes, let's go. We're leaving right now. And I left everything, and it all got destroyed. They destroyed the rental tents. They destroyed the rental tables. They destroyed it. They took every piece of merchandise from everybody. I had a panic attack. Checked the Coney Island Hospital records. I was checked in. I didn't jump out of the ambulance. Checked the whole. This is all stuff that's all public knowledge. I checked in. I had an anxiety attack. They gave me some Klonopin or whatever they did, and they released me to Paulie. And Paulie goes, we're going to squash this. The next day, Anthony Grotto went down to their clubhouse, got stabbed, right? And then they figured out that Anthony wasn't the guy that you stabbed, and the whole thing got squashed. So what was I supposed to do after fucking somebody says to me, it's all done, leave it alone? Was I supposed to go to the feds and say, I got extorted by these bikers? They took all my shit? Somebody tells you to leave it alone, you leave it alone.
Wow.
Prove me wrong. Prove anything I'm saying right now is a lie. You hear stories from people that weren't even fucking there, or don't know people that I know to save their asses. Paul Vario saved my ass.
I'd be dead right now. You know what Paulie found out when they had that meeting? They were going to kidnap me and chain me to a bed in their clubhouse and hold me for ransom.
Really?
Really. And I'm not going to name the biker club, but I ran into one of them last October in Connecticut, and he apologized to me. He says, that should have never happened to you. He says, a bunch of us left the club right after that happened. He goes, we didn't sign up for that shit. And he goes, anything I can ever do to make things right with you, man. I said, just thank you. Thank you for apologizing, finally. My wife will tell you, we ran into him at a Halloween store. And he looked like he saw a fucking ghost. And he since then has joined the Mongols. And he's a stand-up dude for apologizing.
You were also involved with the revival of the Globe promotion. I remember this many years ago. Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling.
Absolutely.
And that was a series that I believe the TV series aired on Netflix and was well received, was it not?
Oh, it was great. That was way after the fact, but yeah, it was great. It was great. Yep.
Were you involved with the show at all? How did you go about?
I got permission to own Glow for a little bit.
Yes.
Me and Roxy Astor, who I was dating at the time, and I've got a background because I ran cyberspace wrestling and this is all intertwining. Derrick Gordon, who ran cyberspace wrestling booking, would book all these guys like Jeff Jarrett and Jeremy Borash and pay them thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to do the Cindy show. And I brought in Dave Marquez because the owner, Billy Firehawk, wanted an NWA affiliation. So they became NWA Cyberspace. And Dave Marquez is saying, why is this guy Derrick Gordon getting $5,000 to book an indie wrestling show that only has 500 people at it? You know, and when Billy Hawkins, Firehawk, died, Derrick Gordon had the whole library from cyberspace. And Daisy Wee Hawkins went to Derrick and says, I want the library. I'd like to be able to sell it, make some money to pay for some of, you know, the cost of living. And he says, give me $250,000 and I'll give it to you. Now, with that being said, my background with wrestling, blah, 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 blah. I said, I can do a wrestling show. I'd love to bring Glow back. You know, I talked to Matt Zimmer, the original director. What a fat piece of shit this guy is. Anyway, he's so LA. He was married to Mariska Hargitay's mother. She divorced him after like less than a year because he's such a scumbag. So I went on my own, and me and Roxy tried to put this show together. And another friend of mine, we raised about $9-10 grand. And we're just going to do the show. We're going to do it in Las Vegas, the weekend of the Cauliflower Alley. But we're going to do it on the other side of town. And we're going to do it after their dinner, after their matches, after their thing. So we're literally about three weeks out, and all the airfares are booked. You know, everything's paid for. And Cauliflower Alley calls me up, and I've got the email somewhere. And there's and they called me up and they said, hey man, how would you like to give us the show to put on at Cauliflower Alley? We do shows on Friday and Saturday, before and after the banquet and all those other things. I'm like, oh my God, how great would that be? You know, I got Les Thatcher coming. I got, you know, I've worked with all these people. And I said, okay. I said, yeah. I said, I'm totally down. And I said, here's the thing. I said, I got about $8,500 in receipts right now. And I said, how do I get reimbursed for the $8,500? And then what's the ticket split once we move the show to your venue? And the guy goes, what? I said, how do I recover the $8,500? And what's the split on the tickets, you know, from here on out? He goes, there is none. You're just giving us the show. What do you mean just giving you the show? You're just giving it to us. You're just going to give it to us and walk away. I said, I'm not giving you anything. I said, I got almost $9 grand out of my own pocket into this thing. Where do I get my $9 grand back? And he goes, that's the deal. You're going to give us the show. And I'm like, I'm not giving you anything. And I'm not a mark for fucking Cauliflower Alley. Have a nice fucking day. And the call ended really badly. So the day of the show, I had doors opening at 5. There's nobody there. One guy shows up that always comes to things that I do, and he shows me a picture he took on his phone. The Cauliflower Alley Club had a giant easel in their hallway saying that if anybody goes to the Glow show, they'll be banned from Cauliflower Alley for life. So nobody shows up. And the only person that didn't get paid is that girl Taylor. And I'm glad I didn't pay that bitch, because she ended up a couple years later hooking up with Jay Lethal. And I known Jay Lethal and Jay Lethal's mom 20 years. I've known Jay Lethal since he was part of AWA in Patterson, New Jersey. Jay Lethal's a stand-up dude, and this crazy bitch said all this crazy stuff about Jay Lethal that wasn't true. Sarah Del Rey wrestled Kansas LaRue. They got paid. Tell me, which wrestler didn't get paid? That bitch Taylor. And I'm glad she didn't get paid. Sorry, the hotel rooms weren't up to their standards, you know? And they said they got crammed into a van. First of all, it wasn't my van. It was Stu Stone's. And Stu Stone said, anybody that's coming from LA doesn't want to drive, you could drive with me. I'm in this van. So how did I end up having to do the van? Okay. And they said, oh, his girlfriend was doing the hair and makeup. What do you think Roxy Astor does for a living? Hair and makeup. And her son's a musician who does more sound and music engineering than anybody I knew at the time, and he wanted to do the music. Oh, okay. And she wanted to get her son involved in it and see what it's like to work in a wrestling show. Okay. So what's the problem? So guess who writes the bad review? Diehard Derrick Gordon, the guy that was working Billy Firehawk for $5,000. He couldn't wait to shoot back on me because I had him removed from Booker at Cyberspace. Was he there? Nope. And Little Egypt? Fuck Little Egypt. She wasn't invited because all the girls didn't want her there. She was all mouth. Oh, I didn't want to get involved in such an unprofessional thing. Little Egypt wasn't even invited. She was actually told not to come. But she's over at Cauliflower Alley running her mouth that I'm so unprofessional. You weren't invited, bitch.
I even saw someone that says that they brought a little girl into the ring that could be part of the next generation of Glow. What was that about? Did you see that?
I brought in characters to work with the other Glow girls.
Yeah.
Like I brought in that girl Taylor to work with MTV. I worked Roxy Astor's daughter, who was trained by the late the guy here in LA. I forgot his name. He looks like superstar Billy Graham. He just passed away, but he had trained her. Everybody there was in train. Oh, you want to hear the best story ever? Okay, so there's a guy that does websites and all these other things, and he's hooked the Glow girls up. James Carr or something, right? And he calls me up and says, I want to be involved. And all the girls were like, let him be involved. He's been such a big fan, a big supporter of us for a long time. And I said, okay, you know. And he says, make a long story short, he helped me with some website stuff and did all this stuff. He goes, I need to be on the show. And I said, all right, who trained you? I'm not trained. He goes, I was a Glow girl in my future life. And I said, well, you know, he sends me a picture of himself in drag, dressed as one of the Glow girls. He says, I am a Glow girl. I go, you're a dude that's not trained. I said, I can't have you wrestle. Oh, you are going to let me wrestle. I said, no, I'm not going to put you in the ring with trained workers because you think you're a Glow girl in a former life.
Right.
And I literally, this dude went Wild Bill, rubbed the lotion on the skin crazy on me. You know, he's like, I'm going to come to your house and I'm in your driveway and I'm going to kill you. And I am a Glow girl and you're denying my dream. And all. I literally had to file a restraining order on against him. This guy was like, put the lotion on the skin. I am a Glow girl. His name was Michael Glow Carr.
Wow.
And yeah, these are things that people have to deal with. So Michael Carr goes all over the internet bad-mouthing me because I didn't let him become a Glow girl. Okay, Michael Carr, you're a Glow girl.
Diehard Derrick claimed that you tried to sneak out of the venue and that the wrestlers ended up having to follow you in an attempt to get paid.
I left at the end of the show. Was Derrick there? No. Did Derrick, like I said, that's Derrick Gordon. That's the guy that was conning everybody out of money in New Jersey at Cyberspace. He couldn't, that's what I'm saying. Dave Marquez took over the booking and Derrick Gordon was out. And this is his little revenge plot. He wasn't there after the then why do I have the footage from after when the show ended? I've got all the footage. to the last match where I'm standing in the ring with Stu Stone and Sarah Del Rey. That was the last match. If I disappeared, then why am I still in the ring with them?
You haven't shied away of responding to any of these claims.
None.
And I have to
Listen,
respect that.
people can say whatever the fuck they want. Prove it. Derrick Gordon, you're a piece of shit. You weren't even there. Why don't you give Daisy Wee Hawkins her tapes? And Taylor, that's why you're not a TNA anymore. Mm-hmm. And Shu Hirata, brother, I've been around long enough, and I've seen all these little managers come and go. You're not a tough guy. You can sit there and chuckle, yeah, he's all these other things. But you know what? Face to face, you're a fucking punk pussy. Prove any of that shit that you guys are spouting out. Was he not invited to come on this?
I believe, yeah. One of my producers reached out to him.
And no response, right?
Yeah.
Right. Shu Hirata.
I never heard of the guy. Yeah.
Right. Manny has. He goes, oh, he represents a whole bunch of fighters. So what? They all come and go. I represented the whole cast from the Ultimate Fighter comeback. They all made money with me. Every single one of them. You know how much I made? Never made nothing off my fighters. I got a booking fee from whoever booked them. They always got what they wanted. Never stole a dime from them. Mikey Burnett, Chris Lytle, Shoney Carter, Pete Spratt, Dean Thomas, all can tell you. Never stole a dime. Never weaseled on a contract. Nothing.
Now, you
Nothing.
mentioned earlier you're working on a show with MMA legend Bas Rutten.
Yes.
Can you tell us about the Bas Rutten show?
It's the greatest thing that Bas Rutten ever came up with. I've seen whoever doesn't know who Bas Rutten is out of their minds, from Kevin Can Wait to all these other things that Bas Rutten does. Bas Rutten has the best energy of anybody I know. And if you know Bas Rutten, he is funnier than a little bit. Him talking about MMA or him being on Fox Sports or any of these other things is a waste of Bas Rutten's talent. Absolutely a waste of his talent. We put together a pilot. We've got a whole show written, like 13 episodes written out, and it's not about MMA. It's him pulling his well-known practical jokes on people and that gotcha moment. And you know, we've got so much in store, and it's going to be old school and new school, and you know, actors that we all know, and it's literally going to be the Bas Rutten show. It's going to be amazing.
You also have some association with Mad Max movies.
Yes. Yep.
I know that you've been involved with some action figure-related projects. What's the status of those as well?
Well, we actually, now you know, because of my background with the Warriors event, the first one, I know how to put on a successful event.
Right.
Okay, I know how to do all the work. I know where all the landmines are, and I talk to these Australians, because you know my wife's Australian. My wife's from Melbourne, and she sits back, and God bless her, Jennifer has to sit and listen to all these jerk-offs talk all the shit about her husband all day, and all she sees me is ignore it and keep moving forward. So I contacted the guys that do the Warrior. They did the Mad Max reunion. Now the Road Warrior reunion is coming up. I have the car. I've got the whole cast. Let me come in and actually make something big out of this thing. And let me tell you something. Every Aussie on the planet, holy shit. They were like, this is our thing. You can go fuck off, mate.
Yeah.
The Americans were like, yeah, Road Warrior. The Australians were like, don't you dare come near our shit. This is our shit. You know, it's like they're running on empty. It's like an American trying to come in, and they felt it as me being hostile. So the Australians basically said, you're not fucking welcome here to touch any of our Road Warrior shit. So I was working on a documentary with Vernon, and too many people will try to ruin it. I mean, it still has to get done. The problem is that once we started rolling into it, just the logistics of everything didn't work at the time. It's still on the table for doing the documentary, but the 40th anniversary is over. And all these people that didn't want me to do anything didn't do anything. At least I tried. At least I stepped up. At least I got the car, and I got the posters, and I got the cast, and I got some footage shot. What'd they get done? All the haters from Australia that didn't want me to do anything. What'd they do? Nothing.
Well, listen,
Good on you, Nate.
I'm sure there's so much more we could talk about, but you've got a lot going on. Any parting words for the fans, haters, and anything else that you feel that we haven't covered that you want to speak about?
Listen, people can say whatever they want. Prove it. That's all I keep saying from the beginning. And let me tell you something. Pancrase Hybrid Wrestling isn't about owning the trademark. It's not about selling T-shirts. It's not about making a name for myself or putting myself over. It's about honoring martial arts. You know, one of the biggest controversies in UFC has always been what happened to the martial artists.
Right.
Right? All the martial guys who is the dragon?
Leona Machida.
Who better, right? Honorable, raised in a house of honorable people, martial artists, you know. Now you get all these street guys that go to Gracie Barra and they learn how to, you know, and all of a sudden, blah, 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 blah. Is Conor McGregor a martial artist?
No.
Right. Pancrase Hybrid Wrestling is about honoring Karl Gotch and Fujiwara and everybody that came before us. It's doing it the right way. It's not just putting on a show or selling a T-shirt, you know, because I didn't need the trademark to sell T-shirts. People have been doing it here in this country for 25 years, but I don't do that. I do it the right way, and I get gasoline thrown on me. Cafe Press and all these other places have been making Pancrase shirts forever.
And what about the Pancrase Hall of Fame?
Listen. I'm talking to the Martial Arts Hall of Fame now.
Yeah.
And as soon as everything gets back open, we're going to re-talk about it. You know, we've got belts, and I've got the Yamada Trophy. We've got a lot of things coming from Japan, and guys from Pancrase that aren't in the Hall of Fame need to be in there. You know, I mean, I can't expect, you know, Smash or Pancrase MMA. They're used car salesmen. Literally, that's their background. Used car salesmen. That's where they came from. I can't expect them to honor Karl Gotch or Fujiwara. They don't even have a TV deal. Their only sponsor right now is Owltech. And if you don't know what Owltech is, Owltech's the Japanese version of Boost Mobile.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're staying afloat, and literally the only place to see them now is on YouTube for free. That's their only TV deal as of right now. Listen, if they can pull it off, God bless them. We offered to work with them. Free marketing. This documentary would have been free marketing for them. Instead, they treat us like a bunch of assholes and lie about us. You know? If you remember seeing that interview with Sakai at UFC, they gave Boss Rutan a Legends title belt. It says, we're coming to America and we're doing all these things. Boss Rutan's, was it 6 years later, he's still waiting for his Legends belt from them. And those fighters that they sent over there, they get picked up from the hotel. They get brought to a room where they all have to live under one roof with no electricity, no water, no gym, and expected to make weight. All their fighters that came from Boss Rutan's side all escaped in the middle of the night and had to take flights to fly out of Bangkok and then fly back into America. Don't tell me how to treat people. They don't know how to treat people, and they know nothing about honor nor respect. You know,
where can people keep up with what you got going on?
Well, everybody else seems to be keeping up with my news, so I guess check out anybody, because everybody's talking about me, but nobody can, you know. I mean, I got Facebook. You go to pancrasehybridwrestling.us for the only trademark apparel that you're ever going to get. And again, part of the proceeds, we started giving some of the monies to the kill shelters, or the no-kill shelters. I'm sorry. Because Karl Gotch and Yamada and all these guys were all about animals and helping some of these shelters. We give a part of the proceeds to getting blankets and dog food and newspaper and all these things for the no-kill shelters in Los Angeles. So, again, pancrasehybridwrestling.us, pancrasehybridhistory.com, IMDb, and I'm sure that Shu Hirata, who's been stalking me now for a couple of months, has all the news and how to find me. So always check him out. And always, always, always check out Carson's Corner.
Yes. Thank you for coming back on the show, man. We really appreciate it. One
last thing. FightLabs.com. Huge supporters. Check out FightLabs.com. Use the code BOSS, BASS, at your checkout, and you'll get 20% off your order.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, brother.
Again, thank you so much. We appreciate it, Eric. Good luck.
Well, I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
Can you prove anything? Because you said you did your homework, right?
Yeah.
You did your due diligence, right?
Yeah.
Can you prove anything that I just said is a lie in this interview?
No, it's hard. I understand what you're saying. It's hard for people, it's easy for people to make accusations, and then, some of the stuff, it's like, it's like, what can you do? How can you, I don't know. I just, I try
Have you ever known me to be a liar?
You strike me as someone who's very knowledgeable and very, very passionate, and it's been around a long time,
Yeah, and wouldn't you think that if I did half the stuff that people said I did, I wouldn't be in jail?
Let me ask you, another person I forgot to ask you about
Sure.
is a guy named Sam Card. You remember Sam Card?
Yeah.
He was the Russian manager,
Yeah.
and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah. Him and I when the Lions Den went up for looking for a partner, I introduced him and Doug, and they wanted me to help them with promotions, and it ended up they just wanted me to carry their bags, like be some baggage hound.
Well, you actually helped me get Adlon Amagov. He was a very, very good middleweight Chechnyan fighter. Now I think he's like a jihadist now. He's retired, but he was a really good prospect.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, those guys were tough and scary.
Yes.
I just figured just let well enough alone.
Okay.
I went my way, he went his way. Nothing bad to say out there. I wouldn't want to meet any of them in a dark alley.
Yeah, you and me both, brother.
But
He's from New Jersey.
Oh yeah, no, Sam. I like Sam. I liked his partner. It just we weren't on the same page, and that's But you know what? I try. That's more than listen. I can spend my whole life hating on what you're doing, or I can actually spend that time and try to do something.
Sure.
So
Absolutely.
we go.
Well, again, thank you so much. We appreciate it, man.
I appreciate you back, brother. Thanks, man.
Take care. All right, good.
Yeah. That
So,
was
what happens now? You can send me this, or how does this work?
I'm gonna edit the ends
Beautiful.
because we're still recording. So give me. I'll put it up on Podomatic, and then I'll send you the link.
That'll be great, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother.
And I'll be able to download the file and everything like that.
Absolutely.
All right, brother.
Thanks.
Thank you, Eric. Take care.
Thanks, bro.